Here it goes.
All right. It says live on YouTube.
Oh, all right. Okay. All right.
Well, while we're waiting, hello, YouTube people. If there's anybody there,
Hey.
you're welcome. Nurses Against Violence Unite. We're glad to have you. We're just trying to get our group page and our main page linked in, so we will be with you momentarily.
Believe we're good. I think we're live. We are here. Hey everyone, this is Dr. Sandy, and I have the lovely Miss Jessica with me.
Hello, everybody.
We are joining you tonight on a new adventure on YouTube. This is our very first video, so thank you very much for coming. We know there's going to be, we're getting a lot of exposure lately, and today I was talking with another reporter in reference to an article that was just, that we just shared to the page. They wanted my insight on what exactly is happening, and therefore I'm sharing all of my research and stuff like that with them, and it's pretty exciting what's about to happen. Nurses Against Violence, we're going to get into that in a little bit, about how a little bit of a background story. It started from a doctoral project. I had lost my clinical rotation, and I needed to be able to get out and talk to nurses the best I can, because I had an office, not a clinical setting. And so I started using the site, as well as talking with as many nurses as I possibly can, just to get some, updates, as well as also being out on the floor with my students, seeing exactly what's happening. I've been in the industry in nursing since I was 16 years old. And so I've seen a lot over the years. So we have now, how many people we have now following us now on the group itself?
Oh gosh, over 2,000 and something at least.
I think it's like over 2,200 so far.
Yeah,
and
in a very short time, so that's pretty amazing.
And the main page, the face of Nurses Against Violence has almost 1,000. It's getting up there. We have a lot of followers and people that have liked the page. We have people from all over watching us. We are now expanded into, we're in Canada. We have friends over in Australia watching us. We also have Nigeria. And there is a couple other countries too. You can chime in. Just, being live, it's kind of like I'm put on the spot. So
you're doing good. You're doing good. Basically, everybody's jumping on board, so it's amazing. We're very excited.
And I just, I think Jessica and I kind of like ran into each other, and we just have sparked this awesome relationship. And we actually met up for lunch last week, and that was like so much fun. And it was nice.
That was a lot of fun. So coincidentally, Sandy and I met online. I thought her page was really cool because, and her movement was pretty amazing, because it was very anti the things that I was really starting to believe in and follow. It was very anti-bullying, anti-violence, basically a lot of the things that are going wrong in the nursing field were things that Sandy was starting to address and like speak up for people. And I was like, hey, I just reached out to her and I'm like, being respectful. I'm like, your page is really cool. I'm like, I really like what you're doing. I'm like, do you think that would it be okay if I posted something on your page? And then her and I just kind of hit it off and started chatting, and come to find out, she originally is like from like 5 minutes down the street from me, which is pretty nuts. A small world. So we just kind of hit it off from there and have a lot of mutual interest. And I've just kind of started trying to take this adventure on together. So I thought tonight, so I'm taking the lead a little bit. I'm gonna let you just sit back there for a second, Miss Dr. Sandy. And I thought I would interview you for just a tiny bit and maybe let people get to know you a little bit better. And maybe ask you a little bit about, I don't know, where you come from, what's your background, why do you feel, what has triggered you, I guess, to be so passionate about this page and this movement and trying to speak up for nurses and medical professionals? What's your driving force? What makes Dr. Sandy tick?
Well, that's an interesting question. Thank you so much. Wow. Where do I go? Some people that already know me know this is a rabbit hole waiting for it to be jumped in. I mentioned earlier, I have been in the nursing field since I was 16 years old, and I'll tell you a little bit about my accomplishments and then we'll go from there. I started out nursing again when I was 16 years old, and I started out as a nursing aid assistant. And a couple of years later, you know, it was kind of mandatory that we need to get our certified nursing assistant. So I went to a school close by here where I am right now, and achieved my CNA, which is certified nursing assistant. I did between the nurse's aid assistant because I was so young, and the nurses certified nurses aid for 11 years. And we did the cranking of the beds. We had like, you know, about 40 residents, and we each had like about between 15 to 20 residents each that were full loads. We had one Hoyer lift throughout the whole facility. And that was at the time when we were making $4.25 an hour. So I just dated myself as a nurse's aide. And then I said, you know, 9/11 happened, and I was like, you know, I actually was going to school for business, and I was sitting in because I was in a health and nutrition business at the time. And I felt that I just wanted to know a little bit more on how to, you know, run it, even though that they said, oh no, you don't need to have any of that experience. You know, just do what we say and you'll be making millions. But I wanted to know the nuts and bolts. And that's kind of like a little bit where I'm going with this. The nuts and bolts is what I love. I like to know everything. And 9/11 happened, and you know, my mom had worked at the Pentagon, and she used to make my my little costumes in the courtyard. Mm-hmm. And so, you know,
that's
she wasn't
cool.
Yeah, she wasn't there that time. And you know, and I had a family member that was there that heard the plane hit there. And then, you know, watching on TV, I was in Buffalo at the time, and all they had at the bottom was, you know, we need nurses, we need doctors, come out here. And I just was like, I wanted to go so bad. I was about to leave, and it was just like I couldn't go. I wasn't a nurse, you know. So that was like shortly after all of that. I was like, I'm going for it. I'm doing this. So I decided to dive in. I took the nursing stuff. I was already in the community college. I had to do prerequisites in order to even be able to get to the college level, and I'll get to that in a second. So then I had to do prerequisites. So I switched over for my few classes from business and marketing over to nursing. And I decided to go the public school route instead of like the private school route, which was probably not a good idea for me. And you know a little bit why, and we'll get to that. I started the program, and I failed out the RN program by 11 points. I had my daughter during nursing school, and I was told I could never have kids. So made an example of throughout my whole RN curriculum, what not to do when you start nursing school.
Sandy, can I ask you really quick?
Yeah.
Have you verified that we're for sure live in our group?
Yeah, we should be, yeah.
Because I'm looking and I don't see it. So I just want to make sure that it's actually, normally I see it on the page and I don't.
Yeah, we are. Hold on a second.
Because I see live on YouTube, but normally my phone says live on Facebook and it doesn't say it. And I don't see it either.
Oh, it's not on Facebook.
So you're only dedicating it to YouTube today?
We are now solely on YouTube, and I'm trying to
Okay,
get
and then
this.
we'll share it from YouTube. I just wanted to make sure. Got it. Okay.
Absolutely.
All
So
right,
I was told that I'm going to send you a picture so you see. So I decided, I was like, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay. So basically I failed out by 11 points, and, the whole time I was in the nursing program, and, and I'm not the kind that plays victim, because, I probably could have done a little bit better, and maybe I shouldn't have had my daughter during nursing school, but it shouldn't have been the nursing instructors to tell me that I shouldn't be pregnant, and I shouldn't do this and I shouldn't do that.
Right.
I was made the example of when we had a cocaine baby that was withdrawing. You need to pull her away, from that baby, and I was just standing there and observing. When you're pregnant, you get very emotional. Don't you,
Yes.
Sandy? But that's what they would say to me in class as I was like the class, example. So anyway, it was really troubling. And that's where it sunk in my head that, okay, so I hope all nursing instructors aren't like this. And then of course I was finding out that they were. A lot of them really do love their students, but maybe some things they say aren't right. But so I got through the program to the very last semester, and I failed out by 11 points because I had a panic attack in the last semester with my daughter, and my mother moved up there. And so it was rough. But anyway, I'm not trying to get into a tangent, but I had a lot of challenges going through the nursing program. And when I failed out by 11 points, I was not unsuccessful. I was actually still successful, and I became an LPN. So, and while I was fighting the program, this is in 2006, I was fighting to get back in. They basically said, well, maybe nursing isn't your cup of tea. This is the administration. Maybe you should just go ahead and I think I have a recording of their voices too, because up in New York, you can record voices. And they were just basically saying, well, just too bad about you. You're just going to have to just, hang it up and just go and work at Walmart, basically. And I'm like, no. So
good grief. That's not very encouraging.
No, not at all. Then I got my, I went in and I took my boards, went in, left, bam, microphone down, because like I was ready and I would have graduated. I went through everything, all clinical rotations. I was done. I just needed to just do something in order to be able to get those 11 points, and they wouldn't let me.
Right.
So I was very bitter. I was extremely bitter for years. And then one day, after I just was like, something's going to happen, I just let it go. And I gave it, to the universe. And I got a letter. Oh, I found I was pregnant again after I was done fighting in 2006 and had my daughter in 2007, my second daughter. So needless to say, I found out I could have kids. So
yay.
I had had my second daughter. I was working as an LPN straight agency because I was also working in the ER for 4 years while I was going to nursing school. So I was a nurse's aide assistant and a nurse CNA for 11 years, ER tech for 4 years. And then I was an LPN for 4 years working straight agency. And I got a letter in the mail that had like it was like a scholarship to a college that was like mostly online. And then you would just go into your clinicals on a weekend. I felt comfortable doing that because I was working, number one, as an LPN. And plus I also went through all of the clinical rotations. So I didn't feel like I was, shortchanging anything. And I finished, I tested out, I went in, left. I knew I was going to pass, left. And that bitterness all went away. It was like the most amazing feeling. So I became an RN officially, and I finished my classes in 2009 in December and took my boards in February. And then I moved, my ex-husband and I, we moved to North Carolina. And I decided that I wanted to continue with my forensics because I've always been fascinated. I wanted to be a medical examiner as a kid. That was like my thing. I wanted to be a doctor, but I didn't think I was smart enough.
Okay, listen here, Sandy, because I know you well. You're not answering the question. You're telling us, you're telling me your body. I'm going to analyze you, okay?
Okay.
you're telling me your bio and you're telling me how you've gotten to where you are, but why are you so passionate about this movement? Why do you feel that you need to take care of the ones that aren't being taken care of? That's what the heart of what I'm trying to get at. And I want people to see why you are such a sweet soul and why you are such a compassionate, caring person. Because I love you and we love all of your training and what's gotten you to be a doctor. Okay, that is amazing. But why are you so passionate? What makes your heart tick? Why are you the way that you are? I'm sorry, you knew I was going to do this to you, but
I was trying to give you a little background.
I want people to know that you have no ulterior motives, that you are a genuine individual who is nothing but caring and a loving heart. And they need to understand the driving force behind that. Why do you not want to see people not thought of and left behind? Like, why? You don't have to get into specifics, but what made you really, really, really want to do something like this?
Because I know how it is.
It's okay. I love you, girl. It's okay. You have such a sweet side. You're such a passionate person. And
when
go ahead.
I'm sorry. When I was 10 years old, my mom told me I grew up pretty much with my mom and my grandmother. Not really, but really. My mom told me we lived pretty much in her living room or my grandmother's, or my grandmother had the bedroom. My mom and I would have 2 twin beds.
You can do it. You're strong. You're stronger than all of this. You can do it.
So my grandmother was the type person where the environment that I grew up in was not good. My grandmother was extremely abusive, where she would threaten me with knives. She would make my life horrible.
This is your mom's mom?
Okay, so at 10 years old, she told me that, my mom told me that, look at me right now, I don't know how to be a mom.
That's a very, that's an age where their impressions are made. That's for sure.
I was locked out of the house several times. I've been told that I was so much like my father that my grandmother hated my dad, like hated him. So she took it out on me. I think my mom meant well. I think she meant well. She would try to get me away from her, would move, but like she wouldn't move too far. Like she'd be right. Like we moved when my mom decided that we were going to move, she moved to the apartment next door.
Yeah, it's not very far, but
no. So it's like I couldn't escape. Everywhere I went, she was there, my grandmother. And it was like my mom could live, it was like she cohabitated with her. Like it was kind of like my mom just could not survive without my grandmother.
Was your grandma mean to your mom too, or no?
Oh yeah. Oh, it was bad. So I'm gonna clear myself up. Hold on a second. So it was really rough when I was growing up. I mean, I started drinking and smoking when I was like 11. because I grew up in a chimney, pretty much. My grandmother and my mom wouldn't stop smoking. I was always sick when I was a kid. And it was rough. It was really rough. I had, you know, I was getting older. I was put in the hospital, and I can't even, if I could show you pictures of the things that at the end result of what I'm going to start sharing with you, you would understand. When I was a teenager, my mom and I moved probably 30 times when I was a kid, and I did not know where my home was. I'm originally from, I'm going to just say the DC area, because I'm going to keep my, some of my life private. And I have a lot of people that I was in 7th grade, some 8th, and maybe a couple months of 9th. It was that bad. I moved around so much. Between here, which is in the Orlando area, and Florida, and in the DC area, about 30 times. And so I just didn't really have any friends.
How could you? You don't even have time to make friends like that.
Well, yeah. So, I know how, so I moved down here. We moved down here to the Orlando area, and, we were pretty much living on the streets. We lived in an abandoned trailer that had mushrooms growing out of the counter.
Oh my gosh. Actual like mushrooms from the ground?
Yeah, growing out of the counter. And my room was above, it was I probably had 3 feet of where I could crawl, and I made a little.
Was it more like a little attic space?
Yeah, yeah. So I made a little comforter bed.
You tried to make it your own, make the best of it.
Yeah. So
do you want me to help you out? Or are you okay?
You could help a little.
Okay. So from what I know about Dr. Sandy, her mom and her growing up, her mom unfortunately did not have the best mental stability. She had a lot of psychiatric illness, and also some drug dependencies. So long story short, which, without, trying to obviously not cut your life short, but poor Dr. Sandy was unfortunately left homeless due to her mother's medical conditions at a very young age. At an age of 16 years old, she basically was left without anywhere to go or anywhere to stay or anybody to turn to. Her actual biological father is not very supportive. She's got a stepbrother who also is not very supportive, and was basically left with having to fight and survive on her own because her mother was not available any longer at that point. So she became a fighter at the age of 16 years old, pulled her bootstraps up, and made a way to survive. She worked 3 jobs. You can see I've listened to everything.
I can't believe it. That's so awesome.
Worked 3 jobs. Found a way to get her GED so that she could finish high school, and did not stop there. She kept on. She persevered. She has had 2 amazing children, and she has fought every step of the way to continue going to school. From, like she was saying, starting out right as a nurse's aide. I can
take it now. I think I got it. I just need to get through my mom.
All right.
So, yeah. So, yeah, I was on my own since I was 16 years old, and I actually got my GED right where I am, in the same town where I am now, where I never wanted to be. I moved back here. I continued on with my education. And basically, when I say that I don't want anybody left behind and I want a safe place for people, I get it.
Because everybody deserves a safe place. Everybody does. Unfortunately, in the nursing field,
and everybody needs
always
a friend.
Yeah. There isn't always somebody to turn to.
No. And it's rough out there, you know, like growing up in the field, it's like, I've seen the shift, you know, to like, you know, like when the opioid and the homelessness and all of that stuff came out, it was just like it just, everything, I was seeing my mom all over again. And I was seeing how organizations were treating people. Just like, this is not happening.
Right.
So needless to say, and you can interrupt me at any time, that's fine, because I want to make sure I stay on the path. But so I know being left behind, and I knew I had to do something when I was 16. I could not go back. I worked 3 jobs. I worked as the nurse's aide. So I went back in the circle, back at the nurse's aide, and then I worked as a cashier at a grocery store, and I delivered papers. So those are the jobs that I did in order to be able to make it, and I was still homeless. So I found myself moving from this area to I was in a relationship at the time, and it was a young relationship, and I slept on my boyfriend's floor in a town a couple months towns away, in a college town, and then I finally got my first apartment. And and I don't think I told you this, and I'm not going to get into too much extra, but as soon as I got my first apartment, my mom was on my doorstep with garbage bags. Like, I called and told my grandma I was so excited. I got my very first apartment because I had been renting rooms in order to get myself up to that, you know, be able to get an apartment. And she showed up the next day with garbage bags of her clothes. And then she brought all of her stuff down from wherever she was. I don't even remember at the time. It was just, she was a hoarder. So she had people always help her move all these places she manipulated and stuff like that. So she ended up moving into an apartment in the next, so you have like these buildings with the apartments, and then you have, they have all these sub apartments basically in the next building. And she didn't have power, she had water, and I would walk in, she had a recliner, and she had boxes just piled up around, all you could see is her feet. There were so many times that she would say that people were stealing her goldfish, she would find them dead. It just was like an emotional torment. I'm like, this is my beautiful mother. She's a mess.
Right.
I don't judge her, and I don't feel like anybody should be judged. It's just the way it is, you know? And I see that with not only the people that are addicted and that have mental health issues. If my mom felt safe enough to talk to a nurse without being judged,
right,
it should be the same. So yes, we have a huge problem in healthcare on both sides. We have it with, you okay?
Yeah.
We have it on both sides. We have such a thick mental health stigma. You know, we're taking care of and we're absorbing all of these behaviors, but yet we're not taking care of ourselves.
Right.
So I'm seeing I'm like putting all these pieces together that I've seen over these years. And then it comes time for me to do a project for my master's. And that's where I started finding out more holes, right? That have led me to my doctoral project that led me to Nurses Against Violence Unite. So, and, I was trying I know that we were going to talk about the hiccups. We were going to talk about hiccups tonight. And, that was like the title of our thing. And we kind of,
hey, you know what? Even if we say life has hiccups.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it does. It's a perfect show.
We're not lying. You're still talking about hiccups because God knows life has a lot of hiccups along the way. That's for sure.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Unfortunately, when you're born into this world, you don't know what life is going to throw at you. And even though you try to roll with the punches, there's a lot of hiccups along the way. And I think that you have rolled with the punches amazingly. It's like freaking crazy. I do not know that most people in this world would be able to persevere and bounce out of what you've gone through and use all of that negative and hatefulness that was thrown at you so many years and turn it into something amazing and positive speaks volumes about you. So you should be proud of yourself. And I think that anybody that is becoming a part of the movement or thinking about becoming a part of the movement should understand that you have nothing but good intentions, and that nursing and the medical field needs help, and it needs somebody to be a voice and somebody to guide them. And because it's not there right now, obviously, there's a lot of people feeling like you did as a kid, or like you do sometimes as an adult, as we all do, feeling like you don't know where to turn. You don't know who is going to help you. You don't know how to get out of a situation that you're in. And it sucks. So that's what this whole thing is about, is trying to figure out a way to make the system better, where you don't feel like there's just nowhere to turn, where you don't feel like you're being bullied into something, or you don't feel like your work isn't supporting you, or you don't feel like, hey, patients just slap me and that's part of the job and you suck it up. And it's not the way that it has to be. And it's the way that it is currently, unfortunately, but it's not the way that it has to be. So we have got to all get on board and try to figure out how to iron out these hiccups that are going on along the way, right?
Yep. And the biggest part that I've seen that there's a lack of, we've gone from a relationship kind of career, because, you know, nurses are very holistic and very caring, and we all are in our own way. Some of us have a really odd personality and think things are funny and other people are not laughing.
Yeah. I think as nurses, you got to have a little bit of a
absolutely
sense of humor to get
You're
to get
coping.
through the job.
Absolutely. You know, we were, what was I just saying? Oh my goodness. We all have this like kind of like this sense of humor that it's just, we have, you know, but we've gone from relationships, building a solid relationships. Your team is your team, who you work with. And if you don't see somebody like, and they're off one day, you see them again, it's like, hey, you know, that's the way I remember nursing. Right. And then it just slowly, like, I remember when I was a kid and I worked in the ER when I was, you know, the nurses would bark at you, but they'd be like, oh, come here, I love you. You know, like, you know, but it's not like that anymore. We've gone from, we have this, our blinders on, and we don't see anything but we're like narcs and, was it narcs and refreshments? What is it? Refreshments and narcs. Is like, we feel like waitresses pretty much is what I'm trying to say. Because we're not able to be that relationship person, because we're organizations and, you know, in school it's like transaction. You need to know this med, you need to do this, you need to look at your MAR, you need to triple check. And yes, you still need to do all of that stuff. But when we remember the EMR, when it first came out, you know, like the electronic medical record, it was supposed to come out and we were supposed to have freedom to spend that relationship and build that relationship with our patients, right? It did not happen that way. No. And actually some of these programs, now I will give a shout out to Epic, I love you, but there's some out there that you're still doing this redundant charting, and you're not able to, you know, because it doesn't sync all the way through the chart. You have to keep putting it in, and it's just ridiculous. So I think it's the cheap version, like the generic version of Epic, where it's like you're missing a lot of the things that you need to be able to spend more time with your patients. And I think that's where we have a lot of disconnects. We have a lot of hiccups in the system, that if all these holes got fixed, we would have a better system. Bottom line, organizations are losing so many nurses. We are losing nurses every day. Either they're making their they're continuing their education, or nurses that I've met that just finished school within a year are leaving because they don't want to even, no, they don't. They'll go back working as a hairstylist or whatever.
It's just funny that you say that, like, about how it used to be, because, you know, I've been a nurse for 20 years and I remember, and I think maybe it's like I'm having a little coming of mind here. Like, I remember being able to laugh at work and being able to giggle with your coworkers and have fun, and it was okay. Like, you still got your job done, you still busted butt, but it was okay to not be a robot. Like, you could be human. You could laugh at the nurse's station, you could cut up, you could have fun, but we still got the job done, and it's not there anymore. Like, it's almost like if you even have a second of downtime for 1 second to be able to engage with somebody and not be staring at a computer screen, it's frowned upon. It's not, there's no positive reinforcement for that anymore. It's seen as like that you're slacking, and it might be different in other facilities. I don't know. I'm speaking from the experiences that I've had, and the times have changed, and it's more about the bottom dollar than it is anything else, and it's scary. And I think that that's a big part of why people are not. There's no enjoyment to it at all, and it shouldn't be that way. You should still be able to work and do your job, but there should still be some time to be a human being. And I think that that's what's lacking for nurses lately, is that there's not that time to be a person. We can't all be robotic robots all day long that are infallible and that can chart and document and get things done 100%, because we're human beings, and human beings make mistakes, and that's okay. But there's this fear created in the workplace, and there's this fear created in our jobs lately, that if you do one tiny thing wrong, you're going to be written up, you're going to be disciplined, and it's over the top. It's gotten out of control, and it needs to be. I don't know how it's going to happen. I'm not sure about that yet. I'm looking for your guidance, but it's got to just chill out. People have got to chill out a little bit, or there's not going to be nurses left. There's not going to be anybody. There's not going to be experienced nurses. There's going to be nothing left, and it's going to be a sad, scary place. I hope I said that well. I don't know.
You did, and thank you. And again, yeah, it's become very transactional, and to sit there and think that, you know, nurses are busy and they have, like, you know, they're focused and people are withdrawing, and we're getting into like kind of what we're going to talk about tonight, where it's happening where people are getting so angry, and they're one of the number one mental illnesses that happen is when somebody goes into the hospital. They're anxious, you know, they don't know what's happening to them, and they just get like they work themselves up because they don't know who's going to pick up the kids. They might be by themselves. Like, I use myself as an example all the time. Like, I'm a single mom with 2 kids, so who are my supports? You know, who is my support? I don't have anybody. So it's like, I have my 2, who's going to pick up my kids? Who's going to do this? And how am I going to pay for this? I don't have really good insurance. What's going to happen? You know, it's just like all these what ifs, and oh my gosh. And then you have the family members that come in, they're stressed out. They come in, they're, oh, you know, why does my family member look like this? I'm sure that you guys are familiar, that are watching this, that family members are bears sometimes. But you know, to sit there and think that we do not absorb that behavior, that it does not bother us. And I don't care how seasoned you are, it still gets to you after even every time. It still gets to you. You absorb everything, and you can't take it out of your head it stays in there. Some people, like, I can kind of dismiss things, and I can kind of, when I talk to somebody, I kind of like dive in and like, I understand where they're coming from because I've been crapped on and stuff like that. But you have these people that come in into nursing and they get yelled at and they're like, oh, and they react, right? They don't understand that this person is just trying to get it off their chest. And then they're like, thank you.
Right.
You know? And then you have, so they're more reactive. I think everybody's reactive because everybody's on high edge. Like if you continuously absorb all of the behaviors and the behaviors from your fellow nurses, and you're also going through things at home, to think that you do not have anything inherent, like my mom has whatever, God knows what she has. I don't act like my mom. I don't think I act like my dad either, but everybody has these genes, right? We have these genes and they can turn on and turn off, right? So when they turn off and turn on, like we'll say in high stressors, like it could trigger schizophrenia, or it could trigger whatever is like inherent, that's a mental illness in your system. And then therefore it turns it on, and then there you go. It's like, right? So it is important for people to have coping mechanisms, whether it be laughing, whether it be, you know, going to exercise, which is a great one. You know, there's different coping mechanisms, but sometimes, you know, we have these nurses, and I'm going to speak for myself as well. I am in school again, full-time, because I'm working on my psych NP. So I don't, between raising 2 kids, you know, I got to find that time. Right. And sometimes it's not as easy as we think it is.
I'm trying to get you laughing more.
Yeah, you are.
I'm trying.
Yeah, you really are. It's like, I'll be sitting there, I'm like, and I'll be like, come out with some weird stuff. But yeah,
just the other day I was like, I gotta go. I gotta get my Botox. I'm sorry. I gotta hang up. He's like, you're what? I'm like, yeah, I'm keeping it real. I'm like, gotta go get shot up right now.
I'm like, you gotta hook a girl up. I need to know who this doctor is. So, you know, it's just, you know, if we even just came down a little bit and we kind of, you know, stepped outside of the box instead of like being so reactive to everything. And, you know, it's easier said than done, I know. And it all starts with some people that get together and they decide that they're going to make a safe place, and that they're going to start creating their own culture of happiness and their own culture of security and friendship. And then it's going to be a trickling effect. Right. And that's
what we need to do, is start our own hospital.
Well, yeah. Well, it starts with, we can call it Nurses Against Violence, the hospital.
Yes, hospital, and we'll be the administrators and the managers all combined. And then it would be amazing. But unfortunately, it's not the way.
Yeah.
It works.
So, but we can make our own culture, and that's exactly what we're doing. And it's going to trickle out. The more people we get, the better it is. A lot of these groups that are on Facebook and stuff like that, they're so, I mean, some of the things that people are spewing out are just like cringeworthy. Like I can't even think about it. It makes me ill. So it's important. I want to get to something real quick because I know that we're kind of pressing down on time. So there was an article that, you know, and actually we have a new moderator. We have quite a few new moderators. Let me back up for a second. So I wanted to talk about this poll that I have on both of the pages. I have it on the community page, the hashtag Nurses Against Violence Unite, and the regular page, which is the face of Nurses Against Violence Unite, not the private group. The private group, the question was, do you feel safe at work? And I can't really tell out of how many people voted, but we have about 2,200 people in the group, and I'm sure everyone has seen it. So far, 53 said no, they don't feel safe, and 22 said that they do feel safe. So I'm not really a mathematician, but when I back up and I look at the ANA's report, the American Nurses Association, out of 14,000, this is nationwide, 14,000 reported, and 62% of those said, this is in 2018, 62% said that they were verbally and physically abused out of 14,000 nurses. I don't know about you, but I think we have about like a fourth of that on our page. Right? So I know for a fact, well, number one, there's not a lot of people that can afford $300 every year in order to be able to be a member. So I think that's one of the disadvantages, but it was a survey for anyone to answer. Like they were passing around like, but nobody wanted to answer it, obviously. And then they had an update on it and it was up to, I got a magazine for September. It was like 22,000. So it went from 14 to 22,000 since that article was originally that survey. So that says to me, our numbers are about right for how many people that are actually voting for the amount of people that we have. But it's not right. Everybody, we should have 100% of the vote. So, and on the main page, it's reached 3,783, 232 voted. And if you read that article that I just posted with the girl that must have got her cornea or whatever detached, they had only about 117 or something, or 170 people that they surveyed. We have over that. 232 voted, 31% said yes, they feel safe, and 69% said that they did not feel safe at work. Now, that could be staffing, which everything falls in line with, okay, it's not just about staffing people. Let's really think about this one. What are all the things that are leading into staffing issues? We have bad behavior. We have no security at work, right? Like we don't have security. Patients are hurting us. We have a reporting system that is absolutely flawed. We don't have one of the biggest accomplishments I feel would be anonymous reporting, and that's non-punitive and non-traceable. Because that would cut down on, because we have absolutely no laws for organization retaliation for employees. OSHA only makes recommendations. They're not going to go after, they're not in the private hospital or facility business. They don't want any of that, right? So it's only recommendations that OSHA does. So we can't be naive. So anonymous reporting is one of the biggest things that I feel would be the best system to be able to get the more nurses and nursing staff to report injuries so there can be accurate numbers. If there isn't accurate numbers, it's because people are afraid. People are afraid to come forward. So therefore, if like, let's just step out of the box again for a minute. So if you have people that are going to work at hospital A and they're going there and then they're like, ugh, like I'm mandated. The patients there are like, hitting nurses all the time, or, the worst things are happening at this hospital. We'll compare that to like, almost like, well, it's no comparison, but we'll say like, Jessica, you saw a movie or you saw something, or you had a bad experience somewhere. How many people did you tell? How many people did you tell about that movie or that service that you got? Roughly.
Do you want me to answer this?
Yeah.
Okay, so if something you're saying benign, like a movie or something?
Something that just really was just like terrible, like some bad service, something that was just like you just were just appalled by.
How many people? I might tell people that are close to me.
Okay, so like if personally,
I'm Cuban, so I'd probably call the manager. That's just me.
You pull a Karen.
But yeah, you might be asking the wrong person, but I usually try to get a free appetizer out of it. I'm just saying, my mom always taught me how to save $1. So if I had bad service, I might speak up, but I'm probably the minority in that. So I don't know if I'm answering the question right or not.
It's okay. So say for instance, you ran out of toilet paper in a stall and you walk out, how many people are you going to tell?
That I ran out of
the toilet paper.
That's a good question. I would not be blabbing that.
You would not tell anybody there's no toilet paper in a stall. You
mean, would I go up to like the employees there? No. No, I would just drip dry. I would shake the dew off my lily and go back to the table. That I didn't have any toilet paper and I'm pissed off. It's time to go home.
Wash your butt in the sink.
Go home and take a bath. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not one of those people that be like, excuse me, there's no toilet paper in stall number 3. I just wouldn't.
Okay, so
What's the right answer here, Sandy?
okay, so I'm trying to help you out. I'm really trying. Oh wait, we got Bouge on here. Should I have her come on? You think she'll say something? Hold on, I'm gonna allow her to talk.
Does she need toilet paper?
We're gonna Miss Bouge, unmute yourself. Hey.
Unmute, start video.
How are you doing? Thank you for coming on. I know we have other audience, but you know, they're not on our Zoom calling, so we can't like pick on them. So I'm going to pick on you. So if you, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Are we driving you crazy already?
No, I just saw it.
Okay, so say for instance, if you had, if you saw a movie, I think we kind of talked about this the other day. If you saw a movie and you absolutely hated it, or there's something like a restaurant and they had terrible food and you're just like, you know, I mean, theoretically, how many people are you going to tell?
I tell.
Huh?
I tell.
Well, who would you tell though? Would you tell? How many people do you think you would tell?
Oh, only a few.
A few. Well, that's 3, right?
Yeah,
So
just my family.
Okay.
That's what I said.
All right. Well, I hate to tell you because I'm half Italian, half Irish, and I'm going to tell everybody if I didn't like a movie. And I don't care who's going to be listening. I'm just going to say I don't like the movie. Right. So I know there's a lot of people that are out there that are going to do the same thing. If they have service that they don't like, or like, you know, Christmas time Walmart and you're trying to get presents, you know, that kind of thing. You can't get a register. So therefore you're just like super annoyed. Well, let me get to the point. Okay, so if you're working in a facility that is understaffed and that you're getting hit on all the time, what are you like? How many people do you think that you're going to tell? Nurses talk, don't they?
I would talk to my other employees. Yeah.
Okay, so we're on the right track. So you're going to talk to other employees. We'll say maybe 5, right? So the word gets around after a while. So how many people do you think they would tell? They're probably like 5. Right. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like a marketing thing. It's kind of like if you ever have bad service, you're going to tell somebody, oh, don't go there. Now, I'm not saying that this is like the main reason, but for a lot of places, I've been told many times, don't go there. And of course, I don't believe them and I get, you know,
Yeah.
So if you, it's not just like, this isn't the only reason, but like if you have, if there's something that you don't like a facility or something that a place you had a bad experience, the word's just going to get around that if they don't have like support, or if people are you know, getting fired for no reason and there's actually no reason, or you know, the patients aren't being cared for properly. You know, I don't know if you guys are getting my theme yet, but it's
You're saying word travels.
The word travels. The word absolutely travels. And what's going to end up happening is that, you know, combined with all of these things, it's just going to make it worse. So, not to digress too much, but I wanted to get on the article that I had posted about the opioid, the pain being the 5th vital sign. I think it was that what it was, Boosh?
Yes.
And what happened was, in nursing school, they tell you that you need to ask, it's a requirement from JCO now. That's what they were saying, that JCO is saying that you need to make sure that the pain is verified, and that they were teaching the students to do this because the facilities were making it a requirement, saying that JCO is requiring it. And then what ended up happening was this opioid epidemic happened. And JCO was only talking about like chemotherapy patients and people that were having serious pain issues. You would want, you know, I mean, you should always assess pain, but not like to the point like you're teaching it and saying JCO did it, like the Joint Commission, because they did not make that a requirement. So the other article that I posted was the Joint Commission saying that it was not a requirement for them, and pretty much saying I don't want any part of this. I'm not speaking for them. I'm just saying that's what it looks like to me in the article. And that they did not make it a requirement for it to be, excuse me, a fifth vital sign. So that is a problem in regards to and leading up to where we're at right now. So the nursing education does not teach many things. And one of the things is, let me see, hold on. I'm going to just mute you. Okay, Boosh?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things, and I'm going to see if I can share my screen. Let's see what I want to share here. Somebody's drinking some great water.
I am actually pouring me a big glass of water right now. It's a big glass.
All right. So we have, hold on a second. Just give me 1 second. I have it's not going to show it. I have to bring it up. There is a withdrawal protocol that when I was teaching, I would have my students, when I would have them, when they were doing their physical assessment, I had them put in their SIWA, which is the alcohol withdrawal, and the CALS protocol. And it was to be able to help them understand a little bit more about what they were seeing with their patients. So I'm just going to pull these up. I thought I was going to be able to show it on the website, but I'm not able to, I don't think. Maybe I can. Still kind of new at this. Let's see if I can. Oh, maybe I can. Let me see here. Okay. All right. So let's do this. I think I can get it now. Maybe it's going to do it. I don't know. All right. So say, for instance, when you're doing your health assessment, you're going to automatically see your patients, and then you're not going to know, like one thing that the nursing school does not teach is how to be able to assess somebody that is withdrawing from drugs, from opioids or alcohol. And when these patients come into the ER, they're cleared and they're sent to whatever floor, right? They're not necessarily mental health patients, because not every person that drinks or does drugs is a mental health patient. They might be just they're just might be using drugs or alcohol. And not every homeless person has drugs and alcohol in their system. So we can't say that every person that is homeless is a druggie or drinks. So I don't know if you guys can see this. Can you guys see this okay?
Yes.
Okay. So one thing, you're normally going to already be assessing your patient. You're going to be looking at them, and you're going to look for, have you seen this before, Jessica? That's what I wanted to ask you.
I actually pulled it up earlier today and reviewed it. So I did see it earlier today.
Okay. I didn't know if you've ever seen it though, like in the workplace. Have you guys ever assessed anyone?
Actually, no. And I was a little bit torn earlier about this because, God, I'm trying not to open a whole nother can of worms, but my father died of alcohol withdrawal from actual DTs.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. He unfortunately was not assessed properly in the hospital, which this scale was not available at that time. This was like about probably 6 years ago. It was not available. So they were not treating him properly as an elderly individual. And he was obviously exhibiting delirium. He was having shakes. He was having tremors and shaking. But they did not have the scale in place. And unfortunately, even though they knew about his history of alcoholism, long story short, they were occasionally giving him Xanax here or there, or Valium, or whatever the case may be, but that there was not this, the scale was not initiated yet. at the hospital. He ended up in the ICU, intubated on a ventilator because he went into full-blown DTs and started having seizures essentially, and almost died at that point. He did end up losing his life because of this. He actually went into full-blown DTs 3 times. The third time was the last time. But had this been in place at that point, it would have made a difference. It would have made a big difference. But it just was not, unfortunately, something that was incorporated into a nurse's assessment at that point.
And I'm very sorry. I'm sorry if this, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I didn't know.
Didn't know, and I didn't want to bring it up. I just,
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's a hard subject. I just don't think that the nurses had the proper training is what I'm thinking, is I don't think that they really knew how to assess it the right way. I think that they were reporting the signs that they were seeing in my dad to the physicians, but it just wasn't computing. I don't think it wasn't that
connection.
And I don't even think that a lot of people understand, there's a lot of people who don't understand true like DTs or what alcohol withdrawal or even narcotic withdrawal. It's an education thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that they had the right tools, I guess.
And this is one of the things that I'm pretty much, especially with my mom being, she was addicted to Ativan and I didn't know it. I didn't realize it until as I got older. And
that's why I told you the other day when I said to you the next time we get together, I said I have a lot of stuff to share with you as well. I put on a happy face most of the time. I try to, but I think we all battle our own demons. We all battle things that have happened to us in our lives, unfortunately. And this is one that I was not able to help my dad overcome as much as we tried. But addicts are very resourceful. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, that's why I wanted to talk about this tonight. I had no idea about your dad and I'm so sorry.
I know
if
we're taking a detour here and I'm sorry.
No, you needed to let that out. And I appreciate you sharing that. Again, I don't mean to trigger.
No, but I'm glad that you're bringing this up. It's something that's important. I mean, it needs to be shared. It's a big deal. Yes. So yes, I did look at your email.
You're so cute. The alcohol. So when we're assessing our patients, it just kind of goes hand in hand. And the way that I'm going to help the audience, and hopefully they're listening, is that the alcohol withdrawal is basically hallucinations. All my students would be like, they're reciting this, like watching this, like, okay, here she goes. So CEWA is the alcohol withdrawal assessment scoring guidelines. And basically there's going to be certain signs for the CEWA that are going to be less on the cows, which we're going to get into that, which is the opioid withdrawal protocol, and vice versa. So they're going to kind of be interchangeable, and you're going to see a little bit of a coincidence. So the one thing that you need to remember for the CEWA is that they have hallucinations. Are you hearing, seeing, or feeling anything that's out of the ordinary? Like there'd be like pins and needles in your hands and feet. It'd be like bugs crawling on you. It would be hearing things, people hearing voices. Now, what is this also sounding like? It's sounding like schizophrenia or some sort of delirium, right? So, but you're going to get into this a little bit further. So are they sweating? Are they having agitation? Anyone that's going to be withdrawing is going to have agitation and anxiety, but the tremors are going to stand out. You're going to have people, I don't know can you see me, Jessica?
Yeah, I see you.
Okay, so you're gonna have, you have them stick out their hands, and then sometimes people will just do this, right? Just to pretend like they're having some horrible tremors. Have them stick out their tongue, and then you'll see their tongue just doing like shaking. Not like the perverted thing that, you know, people do, you know, guys with their tongue. I'm talking about when somebody just has their tongue and you can see like it's just shaking a little bit. That's how you know that somebody's having some sort of tremors. If they're having agitation and anxiety, that is a huge problem. Their nausea and vomiting is not going to be so much, because usually somebody that is a drinker, they might, if they drink too much, they might just vomit one time. Where the opioid withdrawal, they might vomit way more times, right? And that's also going to be on that one. So the things that you are to remember, and I'm going to do an individual webinar on this, but is, are you hearing, seeing, or feeling anything that's out of the ordinary? And always remember, if somebody has been drinking a lot, they might get a headache, right? That's how I remember. And then you score it. And then if it goes, if the score is a certain level, like we're going to look right here. It's kind of hard to see, but it's also, again, it's on the page. There's a scoring system where, of course, your vital signs have to be there, because if their vital signs are high, that's probably an indication that they're withdrawing, right? So you always want to get your baseline. And if they smell like alcohol, say, hey, how much, you know, if they might even tell you if they feel comfortable. They might be like, yeah, I had a couple pints of vodka today. And then you'd be like, so when was the last time that you had a drink? So, you know, and then you would, you know, mark down the time. Okay, so it was 9 o'clock yesterday. So I'm expecting their vital signs are going to be kind of high. So you're just going to kind of find out about what they're drinking, and then, you know, and then do the scoring, because you want to make sure that this person isn't withdrawing. Because if somebody is highly agitated and having some sort of also hallucinations, or having any kind of agitation, any little thing will set them off. Any little thing will set anybody off that's going through any kind of withdrawals, and rightly so, because they're in pain or they're suffering, right? Same thing goes with mental illness. And then we have, okay, let me see if I can get this. I'm going to do the stop share. So always remember vital signs, and that CEWA is the alcohol withdrawal protocol. It's also located under files on the hashtag Nurses Against Violence page, and hashtag Nurses Against Violence Unite page. I apologize. And so it's on there. So you can also ask us as well. I also have it posted in there. And let me find the other one real quick. And oh, I'm slow today. Again, I'm still trying to get used to this whole computer thing. And then the other one is, all right, this is the opioid withdrawal scale, and it's the same kind of.
Sandy, I'm going to let you finish up, sweetie. I've got crying kids in the other room and my husband needs help.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to let you finish up this part with Booge, and I'll talk to you in a little bit, okay?
Okay, all right. Okay. All right, thank you.
Bye, sweetie. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Okay, so then we have the clinical opioid withdrawal scale, and this is kind of the same thing. So you're going to be getting the vital signs, and if they're over 80, then they start scoring, right? So with the cows, you're going to have you're going to try to find out what they're taking, and they're probably not going to tell you because of the fact they might be embarrassed or they might be ashamed. But if they're withdrawing, you're going to either have a good day or a bad day. So think of it like that. And also the fact that this is your patient and you need to make sure that they're comfortable, right? Because if they're comfortable, you're having a great day. With cows, you're going to have the upset stomach. It's going to be like flu symptoms. So if you remember flu symptoms, you'll be good. Joint and bone aches, because they're actually having pain in their joints. Their nose is going to be kind of, runny. They might be like congested. They'll be yawning out of the blue. And of course, you have the anxiety and irritability. They will not have as much tremors, but they will have a lot of sweat. So they're going to have the stomach ache. They're going to have almost like the flu and maybe a little norovirus. So if you think of it like that, because their body, the opioids do what? They slow down, like we'll just say it slows down the intestines. So therefore, and they might not also be eating as much, right? So once they start getting off of this medication or off of the opioids, they're going to start getting hungry. So the way that I always teach my students is if after they're done withdrawing or getting close to and they start feeling a little bit better, always offer them something to eat, because they probably have not had anything to eat for a while, and also drink because they also might be dehydrated. I would stick to clear fluids and, try to stick to like a more bland items. But so we have the resting pulse rate. That's going to be a lot higher. You always want to get the vital signs, and then you have the GI upset. You're going to have the yawning, and you're going to have the joint aches and the runny nose. So you're going to have the flu, some norovirus type symptoms, and you're going to have more vomiting than you would with the alcohol withdrawal protocol. So, and if you look down here and then you score it up on the bottom right, at the very bottom, it says 5 to 12 mild, 13 to 24 moderate, and 25 to 36 moderately severe, and 36 severely withdrawal. Now, we don't want to wait for our patients to get too much into their symptoms, right? We want to make sure that they're comfortable. So if you should have any suspect that they have a history of opioids, I would look into a withdrawal protocol. If you do not have it and all you have is an alcohol withdrawal protocol, you could still use that as some kind of a guide to help you, because not all facilities have the CWA and COWS. If you have the CWA and COWS, you're going to do not only your patient a good service, but you're also going to do yourself and your nerves a good service. It will reduce your stress on the floor, and you'll have a little bit of more idea of what you're looking at. So when you're doing your health assessment, you can pretty much do this without even talking to them. You can just be like, are you hearing, seeing, and feeling anything that's not there? You can even see them looking at the walls. Sir, what are you looking at? Fill me in. Or if they're laughing for no reason, maybe they're having some internal stimuli. There might be something going on. So also the things that you should look for in some of their charts, and I tell my students this as well, is that if you see somebody that's like on an antipsychotic or basically antipsychotic, you could tell by all the medications, really, if maybe you need to make sure, like the last time that they had their medications, if they're homeless, maybe they haven't had their medications. The priority has shifted from of who we see first a little bit. So before, it used to be the patient that had, that just had a heart attack, and everybody's your priority pretty much. So you're running around with your head cut off. So, but your withdrawal patients, before they, get to that level, that point of no return, it's probably in their best interest and yours to make sure that they're attended to as soon as possible, just so that you can attend to your other patients. So the hiccups that we are talking about, of course, are about, we're not perfect on the floor. We have a lot of challenges ahead of us, and together we can make this thing happen. We all just need to pull together. And if you need some extra help with the opioid and alcohol withdrawal protocol, I'm going to be doing more stuff coming up. I know that this was a little bit longer video than we had anticipated, and I apologize. But together we can make the difference, and it's going to be good. We have a lot of great things that are coming up, and I want to officially welcome you to Nurses Against Violence Unite. And I look forward to speaking with you and having more participants on this webinar. All right. This is the last, this is our goodbye, and we'll see you next week. All right. You guys have a great evening. Bye-bye.